The Fatui's final plan is already happening. Project Stuzha, apparently, which I do think is the case. I mean, it's been going on since the beginning of the game, right? Since Signora de Mondstadt. PV that we recently just got for Sandrone was actually before Mondstadt even happened as well, before we started the game. So let's take a look at this video by Minsleaf and see exactly what's going on with the Sarita, shall we?
There's so much to talk about because Luna 8 is packed and the amount of content actually cut.
Well, by the way, heads up, we're actually having an in-person discussion with Min for the lore. It'll be after this quest by like a week or two.
Me off guard. So today we're doing a full lore analysis and theory breakdown of everything the live stream revealed.
It was a
and
lot.
what it could be setting up for in regards to the moon, Sandrone, and Snezhnaya.
100%, I think the moon is going to foreshadow Snezhnaya. The areas look very similar. I do like to think that the shades are on the dark side of the moon that we're going to go to. That's why even the God's Gaze can't reach it, but somehow Piero's could. Somebody in chat actually rightfully pointed out at that point, if you go back and look at the God's Limit teaser, like I said before, when the shades find Piero looking at them, it goes through the real firmament, then the false firmament, and then through the rocky shit, and then down to Piero. Somebody pointed out that it was actually nighttime when he was looking up at them, which is very interesting little detail.
We're going back to the moon in Luna 8, and there's way more to see this time around. Columbina is acting strange, and the traveler follows her towards some ancient moon ruins. The area looks different from the last time we were there. More ruins are uncovered, and even the place where our spaceship was is now pretty. Before the heavenly principles ruled Teyvat, the world belonged to the dragons. Nibelung was the dragon king, and the 7 sovereigns ruled beside him.
My goat, by the way.
Years ago, Nibelung met Sutervoinen, a voyager from the Sea of Stars. She was a cosmic observer, someone whose mind could travel huge distances and witness the destruction of other worlds. She's the same voyager who would later return to Teyvat, fall in love with Koitar, the first angel, and rebel against Celestia. A rebellion that ultimately led to the fall of Hyperborea and the Seelie race.
Yeah, I think this is going to have a lot to do with Snezhnaya as well. We're definitely going to get some dragon lore, that's for sure. I feel like the Pioneer is almost very brutally obviously going to be Nibelung, and I do think we're going to get further dragon lore. I really do.
She warned Nibelung that Teyvat was doomed. The Abyss would eventually destroy it, and she invited him to leave. But Nibelung refused to abandon his people. Instead of running away from Teyvat alone, he wanted to lead the dragons beyond Teyvat and into outer space. Dragon civilization may have become that advanced partly because they were facing the end of their world. They built space tech, potentially bases on the moon, artificial intelligence, and phlogiston. These ruins we're seeing may be leftovers from an evacuation plan, or at least a survival plan meant to help the dragons live beyond Teyvat.
Dude, true. And you know, this is why I love Genshin's design detail, dude. The second
Evacuation plan.
The second I saw this freaking ship, bro, I knew it was number 1 a ship, and I knew number 2 that it was dragon tech, because my god, it just looks dragon.
Intelligence
it looks like Natlan.
These ruins we're seeing may be leftovers from an evacuation plan, or at least a survival plan meant to help the dragons live beyond Teyvat. During this quest, we'll apparently meet a strange black Kuhenki.
What do we think the black Kuhenki is, by the way? If I go based off the thing that the shades are on the dark side of the moon, do we think the black Kuhenki could be like a shade? It's Dottore. Great. Moon Sister fragments. Wait, they did kind of spoil it. This is going to be Arya because they freaking, or maybe it's a misdirection, but Arya was in the credits for the trailer. They always do misdirection with the trailers, bro. It could be, it couldn't be, but Arya is there, so it's probably something moon related for sure. I mean, obviously it's moon related. It's a freaking Kuhenki bit.
Familiars tied to Columbina, and according to legend, they appeared around the time of her birth. But this is where it gets interesting. Nodkai's Kuvaki is tied to Columbina because her body was converted into that energy and spread across the region. The black Kuhenki makes me think maybe it's corrupted, or maybe it's connected to whatever exists.
Or it's just devoid of light. Maybe it's abyssal, right? Because we know light realm.
On the dark side of the moon. Also, I don't...
Dark side of the moon is my number 1 go-to for this.
Kuhenki's name is Eggy, because it just reminds me of the heavenly principles coming from an egg. We see things that look like an ecological reserve and a space lifeform capture station.
Reminds me of Aegon Targaryen.
Which sounds like the dragons were studying life there, maybe to understand space creatures or test whether life could survive if Teyvat became uninhabitable. There's also a mysterious voice talking about a pioneer who explored the moon and the circumlunar zone. My guess is that this pioneer could be Nibelung, the Dragon King. The pioneer...
I think it's too obvious, like, to not be Nibelung. I don't think there's... I mean, it could be somebody else that we don't know about, but I just think in my head, because I very much assume we're going to get dragon lore, because it's one of the only remaining quote-unquote factions that we know enough about, but we are yet to explore fully the entire relationship and anything new about them. It's only things from the past, right? Even in the Natlan quest that we go, it's mainly things from the past. So I do think very much that it is going to be dragon-related, for sure. I do think it's going to be Nibelung. He is a pioneer, and if he really was the first descender, the first to arrive, then the pioneer title fits him very well.
Heard a mysterious signal from deep space, and it makes me wonder if that signal pulled him farther away from Teyvat, led him toward the abyss, and explains why he returned to Teyvat with abyssal power. While Nibelung was gone, the Heavenly Principles descended and imposed a new order on Teyvat. They fought the dragons, defeated the sovereigns, seized their elemental authorities, and reshaped the world. Then, when Nibelung returned from outer space, he started the War of Funerary Flame. That war pushed Teyvat close to collapse. Nibelung came back carrying the power of the abyss, and at that moment, the Moon Sisters hesitated. They didn't know whether to support Nibelung, their creator, or stay neutral, because his return had also brought an abyssal disaster that could destroy the world. Nibelung took the Moon Goddess's hesitation as betrayal, so he imprisoned the Moon Sisters inside the Moon's reflection, a lunar prison made from warped space-time. Then he turned their actual moon...
Made from warped space-time. Jesus Christ, dude, it's so insane when you think. Don't you think it's kind of crazy if the dragons really did create everything, every kind of concept that we know of now, including, obviously, like, the shades and stuff, like... If bro trapped the Moon Sisters with freaking warped space-time, that's crazy to me, dude. Hard to argue, yeah. And then the big old HP were like, you know what? Yeah, time is a really good thing. Let's make the shades. let's do time. Let's do. It's just insane. It's insane.
Weapons of destruction. So we're finally going back to that crazy lore reveal again. The moons became weapons, and the Heavenly Principles saw that as a violation of the peace agreement they made with the Moon Sisters. So they destroyed the Eternal Moon and the Iridescent Moon. The Frost Moon was thrown beyond the False Sky, cutting it off from Teyvat. In the trailer, we also hear something called Project Moongazer.
This is so interesting to me. Dude, I'm so excited for this quest. Do you want to know why I'm so excited for this quest? Because, dude, I was super excited for the Temple of Space quest. Knowing that it was a world quest and it was going to be unvoiced, I was still super excited for it. Bro, this is a world quest that is voiced. They know this is gonna be a banger. Hoyoverse know this is gonna be a banger, dude. Like, come on.
The name makes me think it involves watching the moon, studying lunar life forms and archeolune energy, and possibly a gigantic laser. Yep, a dragon Death Star. You know how much I love Star Wars, and I've been asking for a Death Star in Genshin since like last year. Crazy theory, but the hidden facility on the dark side of the moon might be some kind of gigantic lunar weapon. The moons were turned into weapons. Maybe there's even a gigantic laser meant to fire at the Heavenly Principles, Celestia, or Teyvat itself. And that might explain why the moon has lifeform research facilities and what looks like an ecological reserve.
How insane would it be, bro? Not right now, of course, but in the future, if we fire the giant moon laser beam at Teyvat to destroy it, and then we have to use the ecological reserves on the moon and also the stuff from the ship, like the genetic data bank, to recreate a new civilization. My god, bro.
Voyager did say Teyvat was supposed to be destroyed by the abyss. Perhaps Nibelung? But a descender, the Heavenly Principles, changed that outcome. But right now, something is clearly wrong with the moon. The lunar sea has an extremely high concentration of archeolune energy. The moon creatures are being...
The first thing that I thought of here, by the way, was the primordial sea. Even though it's obviously not, but it did make me think of the primordial sea and the creatures that are born from it. And also just the Sea of Stars as well, right? The thing that's flying around, it looks like a giant Kuhenki, but it reminds me very much of the the narwhal, right?
Affected by some unknown disturbance, and Columbina needs our help to investigate it. So imagine if this moon laser somehow reactivated and now Columbina and the Traveler have to stop it before it fires. Crazy thought. Now let's talk about Snezhnaya, because her reveal also gave us one of the biggest Snezhnaya clues so far. Snezhnaya has something called a stellar lynchpin, and a stellar lynchpin isn't a normal vision. Fatui research connects it to the deceased third descender. That connection is pretty big because the Gnosis were also created from the remains of the third descender. In Hymns of the Far North, the third descender is strongly implied to be Satalainen, a figure tied to Snezhnayan mythology. The book says Satalainen was carved into 7 pieces by Pitkamunen, who is strongly implied to be the Heavenly Principles.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, I very much could be, because Satalainen lore kind of goes in one ear and out of the other for me, I'll be honest. It's really hard for me to keep a track of for some reason. Satalainen is the one that was like, oh, I'ma date this person, right? And then, sound fucking crazy. Didn't he open a door to, yeah, in Payola. Didn't he open the door to Payola to make it so that the girl's father didn't force her to open the door and die, and instead he died for her, and the death was being cut into 7 pieces? Yes, okay.
This matches the Fontaine reveal that the 7 Gnosis were made from the third Descender's remains. The Tsaritsa has been collecting the Gnosis, which are essentially pieces of the third Descender's body. So if stellar lynchpins are also connected to the third Descender, then they share a similar origin to the Archon's Gnosis. A vision lets someone use an element, but a stellar lynchpin seems to do something stranger. It seems to change how elements react with each other. For example, we get stellar conduct, which is basically a special version of superconduct. It's an object that can seemingly bend the rules around elemental reactions.
Basically, and so he could date her. No, I'm pretty sure he knew he was going to die.
Which is great as a setup for Snezhnaya. Snezhnaya is preparing for war against the which is great.
Hear me out. Look at this thing. I need you all to tell me this doesn't look like a penguin wearing like a Donald Trump wig. You have to look at it and see it, bro. The black part here is the little legs, you see? Little legs here with little arms. And then this blue part is the face. He's got a little freaking mustache. And then the yellow here is the wig. It's like a judge's wig, but kind of looks like Trump. It's Trump penguin. You're never going to unsee it now. You're always going to see it. This is the Trump Express station, bro.
As a setup for Snezhnaya. Snezhnaya is preparing for war against the Heavenly Principles. The Fatui have collected Gnosis.
Tree roots, frozen tree roots. I thought it was probably lightning in the first trailer that we ever got for this. I now think it's tree roots.
Actively studying Descenders and their power, created delusions, and now we're being introduced to a Snezhnayan vision-like object that's tied to the third Descender again, and can change elemental reactions. It makes me wonder if they're looking into replacing the vision system itself. And we might already be seeing the Fatui try this in other areas too. Pantalone has been experimenting with different currencies, almost like Snezhnaya is testing whether they can challenge the Mora system.
So I don't think it's necessarily that they're trying to challenge the Mora system. For me, it's always been I mean, yes, don't get me wrong, it is about that, but I think it's a part of a much bigger thing. For me, the Fatui Harbingers have always seemed like a government organization. The Tsaritsa / Piero has always managed to get somebody that kind of fits every role that you would think is necessary to start a civilization or to rule over a civilization. You've got the banker, you've got the doctor, you've got the captain, you have the mayor, Pulcinella, you have everybody, you've got Signora going from nation to nation, Tartaglia going from nation. You have all of the fundamental people that you would need to be able to rule a nation. I think they set that up on purpose for Project Stuzha and also getting the Traveler to, again, create a new world order, basically. I did it, not anymore, well, true, but I still think it was all part of her grand plan. I do. And I do think, like, for example, Capitano taking over the Natlan ley lines is also part of the grand plan. What about Scara? The person willing to commit war crimes, I guess? You gotta have one, bro. You gotta have one. No, he was very likely somebody that they could send to places where they couldn't send regular humans. I'm being dead ass right now. They literally sent him to on like abyssal expeditions and stuff as well. I think there's probably more to it. That's not the only reason they're picking people, obviously, just to keep it a buck, but I do think it is largely to do with it. It just takes a little bit of like digging and thinking sometimes, but they do. Everybody has a role.
Most like Snezhnaya is testing whether they can challenge the Mora system. So they may be trying to replace the systems that Teyvat currently runs on. Visions, Mora, ley lines.
Yep. To create their own world.
And this connects directly into Project Stuzha.
How about the dwarf Fatui? He would be the mayor.
We've been hearing about Project Stuzha for a while, and it always sounded like this mysterious Fatui endgame plan. But after the Luna 8 livestream, I don't think Project Stuzha is just something they're preparing for later. I think maybe...
Well, I say mayor, but I am talking about it very seriously. Like mayor / spokesperson, I guess, because he is the person that gives the speeches. He's the one that makes the rules. He's the one that like can go against the rules, right? Think of it like a president or prime minister, I guess. You could think of it that way as well. Not necessarily mayor. I'm British, bro. What would Piero be then? Piero could be the big guy at the top, and then a spokesperson is very different, I guess. I don't know if little guy's making up all the rules. Piero's probably making up the rules. He's the spokesperson telling the rules, I guess.
I don't think Project Stuzha is just something they're preparing for later. I think maybe it already started. The Snezhnaya trailer makes it seem like Project Stuzha is currently a national crisis. Resources are being drained, trust is being lost, Mora is moving in unnatural direction.
Wait, hold on.
I don't think Project Stuzha is just something they're preparing for later.
Does she mean it's not something that they're preparing to, like, finalized later. She thinks it's something that's already like close to being finished, maybe?
I think maybe it already started. The Snezhnaya trailer makes it seem like Project Stuzha is currently a national crisis. Resources are being drained, trust is being lost, Mora is moving in unnatural directions, people are being arrested, the snow is getting heavier. Child is worried about the people of Snezhnaya. Project Stuzha might be an attempt to freeze or control the things that keep the people of Snezhnaya. Project Stuzha might be an attempt.
Dude, I only just saw this. Look at that. Jesus Christ. That is literally like frozen lightning, bro. That's crazy looking.
Attempt to freeze or control the things that keep Teyvat running. The ley lines, perhaps? And maybe even fate, now that Celestia isn't controlling it? Irminsul was the old database for Teyvat's information and memories. But after the events of Song of the Welkin Moon, Aru has been reconstructed and reprogrammed to serve as a new database for the ley lines after Irminsul burned. Fate seems more open-ended now, but memories, information, death, and elemental energy still flow through the ley lines. So Project Stuzha may be Snezhnaya trying to intercept that flow of the ley lines before things fully get stored into Aru.
Now, you know the things that are like above Snezhnaya that look like frozen tree roots? Nahida obviously said the only thing that remains of Irminsul is the roots underground, the roots. Do we think there is any semblance of possibility that they somehow managed to salvage some roots and like freeze them, and that's what they're also preserving, or they have already preserved years ago from like a different tree? For example, in Honkai Impact 3rd, the world tree there is very different to the Irminsul tree. So I'm very much of the assumption that with the Saritsa's plan of Project Stuzha and them trying to create a new world and control the fate system, they probably have another Irminsul that they want to use themselves, right? It makes me curious if they are going to try to make like some kind of tree. We already have the Frostbearing tree, but that's a little bit different, I think. It is hard to see what it is as well. It just made me curious about like how they are going to be able to control the fate system, basically, or if they just don't give a shit about the fate system.
I think this would accomplish 4 major things. First, it could preserve Snezhnaya's dead people separately. The Saritsa's tomb and birch trees line feels like her way of promising that even if people die because of this plan, they won't just be forgotten. It sounds like preservation. A grave, a memorial, and a place under the white birch for the people sacrificed along the way. So Project Stuzha...
The white birch. Birch is a type of tree, by the way. It makes me so curious, bro. The white birch and then the frozen root looking. Oh, God, I'm so excited for this freaking nation.
Maybe a way to keep Snezhnaya's dead from simply dissolving or returning into Aru like the rest of the world would. Second, it could hide Snezhnaya's war preparations. If the ley lines were...
Celestia looks beautiful here, by the way. And then... it looks very similar to what we saw floating above Snezhnaya Castle.
Hide Snezhnaya's war preparations. If the ley lines record everything, then a nation preparing to fight Celestia would want a way to stop its plans from being fully recorded or exposed. Third, it could collect power. Ley lines aren't just memories and information. They're also tied to elemental energy. Project Stuzha might freeze the flow of the ley lines, then redirect the elemental energy into Mistletoe, the Fatui's war machine, or the Saritsa's final plan. Project Stuzha is confirmed to be a major Fatui project connected to Mistletoe, and so resource heavy that Snezhnograd has been left low on supplies. Side note, but Mistletoe is connected to Capitano mainly through the name Thrain. In Norse Icelandic mythology, Mistletoe is an enchanted sword.
It's his weapon,
originally belonging to a figure named Thrain. And Capitano's real name is Thrain. Capitano isn't dead. His body is dormant, but his existence...
You hear that, haters? He's not dead, unlike Signora, who definitely is, but might come back.
...is still active in Natlan's own leyline system. He uses Immortality Curse to give eternal life to the Lord of the Night and help repair Natlan's leylines.
Also, Capitano lovers, I don't want to hear it, bro. Listen, I don't want to hear your Capitano gooners being like, no, Signora can't come back. Because, bro, if there's anything that could make that bitch stand back up out of that chair, it would be Signora coming back, bro. It's like when someone puts Justin Bieber on in the hospital when someone's in a coma and they get up to turn it off, bro. I'd be like, what the fuck? She's back? Capitano would stand up for that shit, bro. He would become the real Slim Shady.
Condition might be an experiment for what the Saritsa was trying to do on a larger scale with Project Stuzha. So in a way, Capitano has already become something like a leyline battery. Fourth, it could create a safe zone for the Saritsa's new future.
Yes, this is what I was thinking. It's part of Project Stuzha. Min, you're cooking. I said it's all part of the plan from the very fucking beginning. She knew he was going to become one with the ley lines. He told her about the goddamn plan, bro. Oh my God, it's all connecting! It's all coming together! Elysium, yes, Minsleaf! Yes! Oh my god!
It being open-ended means the future is no longer predetermined, but that
True.
also means it's very unpredictable and unstable. Snezhnaya may be trying to freeze one path forward before someone else, Celestia, the Abyss, or another power, takes control of fate. That could
Look at him preserving that building.
also explain why Paimon seems weak in the trailer. It
That's just asthma.
could just be that Snezhnaya is cold and Paimon's struggling, but I don't really think so. The trailer opens with her appearing to be very weak before Piero says war is coming, which
Yeah, if only we had a doctor in Snezhnaya that could help, huh? So now when Paimon fucking croaks it, bro, look who's laughing now. The people that were like, I'm glad Dottore is gone. Yeah, you still happy? That's what I thought.
think so. The trailer opens with her appearing to be very weak before Piero says war is coming, which makes things feel more sus. Paimon
True.
is already strange. Her origin is unknown. She doesn't seem like a normal Teyvat being, but she's also affected by Irminsul changes. Canotilla saw her as a little rainbow balloon with a string going upward beyond the sky, and her fate can't be read normally. So if Project Stuzha is the prelude to the war the Cereats is about to wage on
What if she's the moon gazer?
Celestia, then it really makes you wonder if Paimon does indeed have celestial ties.
What if she's Project Moongazer, bro?
One more thing. What I'm about to say builds on the theory that the Heavenly Principles might be the Traveler's spaceship AI. In the Winter Nights Lazo teaser, we see a chessboard, and that board seems to reference the famous 1996 match between Deep Blue and Garry Kasparov, one
Yeah.
of the most iconic human versus AI chess matches ever. But in Genshin's version, the positions of the kings and queens are swapped, which makes the board more evenly matched. And that's interesting because this chessboard is meant to symbolize the Fatui against the Heavenly Principles, which is an AI, according to this theory. If the Heavenly Principles functions like an AI machine, then Project Stuzha might be the Fatui's way of freezing the systems it depends on. The flow of data, energy, ley lines, and maybe even the resources keeping it active. So Project Stuzha could be a way of killing the AI. AI uses water, right? So freeze the water, I guess?
Oh god!
There's an item called A Song from Somewhere, connected to the tattered paper left by Alfonso, also known as Trofin's Snezhevik. The song is about children without real families who find a new family in the Fatui and fight for parents who aren't related to them by
I have another word for that, but let me re-listen to it really quick and I'll tell you. Hold on.
paper left by Alfonso, also known as Trofin's Snezhevik. The song is about children without real families who find a new family in the Fatui and fight for parents who aren't related to them by blood.
Yeah. Propaganda. Manipulation. That's crazy, bro. What?
It ends with the speaker saying that if they one day stop their journey and slumber under the white birch, the others should carry on without them. The Sarita
Amen.
also says a tomb and birch trees, the Tsar's final token of affection, which makes the birch tree feel like a Snezhnayan symbol of death, burial, and sacrifice.
Okay, but hear me out, man. Hear me out, Minsleaf. Oh my god, I need to talk to you about this so bad, man. Man, I don't want to wait until we're together in person in like a couple of weeks, bro. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. Yeah, I think we have to do the call. Yeah, I think we do. Because I'm like, the white birch, bro. I was talking about this earlier, man. I don't know if you were here, but the roots of Irminsul are still there, right? But here's the thing, because people call Irminsul the white tree, right? Do you think there is any chance at all that these frozen-looking branches here, and even this, could be the white birch that they're talking about, and it could be their version of Irminsul? Their fate, there's something to do with it. I need to dig deeper. This specific scene here reminds me very much of, y'all ever seen the World of Warcraft trailer with Sylvanas and Arthas, where she's like, "Wah, wah," and then, oh my god, upside down world. It really reminds me of that, bro, and then it got me thinking of upside down Teyvat theory, but this specifically is really making me think of the white birch, bro. It really, really, really is. It really is. Oh god. Upside down Teyvat theory. I know. Man, let's discuss. Let's discuss. DM me. Let me know when you're free.
Pantalone says
Let me know when
Mora
you're free.
isn't water. Sometimes it can
True.
flow in unnatural directions. Mora is the money system the whole world uses, so if Mora is suddenly flowing in unnatural directions, that probably means Snezhnaya is redirecting its wealth and resources.
What was that from? Oh my god. That's... Wait. I don't remember this specific part. What was this? Wait. Which quest was this? Am I high? This was from Act 10, bro? Oh my goodness. I don't remember this specific part.
Flowing in unnatural directions,
God, that's so pretty. Wow.
that probably
It's like a drone light show.
means Snezhnaya is redirecting its wealth and resources into Project Stuzha. And that would explain why the city of Snezhnograd is already running low on supplies. So Pantalone is basically saying that this plan is keeping the war effort alive, but it's also draining the country from the inside. This also
Yep.
makes Child's doubt in the Sarita's plans and Sandrone's line hit harder. How much trust have we lost to this plan already? Project Stuzha may be necessary for the war, but it's also making the Fatui look like they're sacrificing their own people. This is why I think Project Stuzha Stuzha may already be happening, and honestly, it might be starting right now.
Min, prior to this, were you like under the impression, and then I've got something really awesome to show you, Min, after this. Were you under the impression, just out of curiosity, that Project Stuzha was like not actually begun yet and they were going to start it when we got to Snezhnaya? Yes, that's what I thought. Oh, interesting. For some reason in my head, every time we've heard of it, I always just thought it was always like started already. That's why I was so confused earlier. I don't know. I thought it was already ongoing from the beginning, or maybe not from the beginning, but from close to the beginning. Interesting. Okay.
Now
and then the other thing, Minsleaf, Penguin Donald Trump. You're never going to unsee it.
Stuzha may already be happening, and honestly, it might be starting right now. And now we get to the strangest visual in Snezhnaya, the roots in the sky. It looks like Snezhnaya is under a tree. I think those roots may be Project Stuzha's artificial leyline system we talked about earlier. Or it could also be the ice tendrils on a snow globe. Project Stuzha might also be a snow globe encasing Snezhnaya. And that brings us back to the Tsaritsa and the Beletsar.
That did really shake things up. You know, as a streamer, I really wish I could hear when y'all are clapping so it feels better, but...
The Beletsar was the first Cryo Archon. After returning from the ruins of the far north, he began searching for a way to overturn Celestia and create an eternal paradise called Elysium. Then he fell into the abyss during the Cataclysm, and the Tsaritsa succeeded him. Project Stuzha might be the start of creating this Elysium, and the Tsaritsa might be continuing where the previous Cryo Archon left off. Bainzef once described the Tsaritsa as a god with no love left for her people, and no love from them in return. But I don't think that means she doesn't care at all. I think it means her love has become cold, distant, and terrifying.
Do you think her people means the Snezhnayan people now, or the Fae, Min? I thought her people as in Snezhnayan people originally, and then when we learned that she's very likely going to be a Fae and stuff, I was like, oh, it's probably the Fae then. That does make sense. But now, after seeing this trailer, I'm like, bro, it could be anything. Because this looks very Bella Bogian, for lack of a better term. I thought of all of Snezhnaya, but if it's just the Fae, that's wild. Well, that's what I was thinking when it said previously her people. I was like, it could just be that the Fae don't really trust her. But... ever since we saw the latest trailer, it looks very much like Belobog, where there's an upper class and a lower class, right? Same as Fontaine, right? There's the overground and then there's the slums and the sewers. Looks very similar, so I could definitely imagine the people of Snezhnaya just being very much against her as well. So yeah, we'll see.
She wants to save the world, but her method may sacrifice Snezhnaya first. And when she says that which I set in motion, I shall see to an end, she's definitely someone who already knows the cost and has decided to keep going anyway. So my current prediction is this. In the Snezhnaya Archon quest, the Traveler will arrive and Project Stuzha is already well underway. The snow is getting heavier. Supplies are strained. Civilians...
Do you think this area is foreshadowed by the moon and we're going to learn some stuff about it this patch?
Are being detained. The Fatui are divided and Paimon is weakening. And underneath all of it, Snezhnaya may be trying to build its own leyline network to generate power to fight Celestia and to preserve everything Celestia could take away. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.
Oh, I already subscribed long ago.
The Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to.
Based Minsleaf, bro. Oh my god, what a good video. I really think this quest that we're gonna get with the moon is... So here's the thing. Let me just say this really quick. So last year, a lot of people were like, why didn't you really like the summer event as much as other years? Number one, Bottleland was really good. It foreshadowed a lot of the prophecy and everything about Fontaine with the Oceanids, right? The people there were literally Oceanids. And then Simulanka was Simulanka. It literally foreshadowed things up to right now, as in entering Snezhnaya. It's foreshadowed so much, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. And then the Mayor Javari was really, really cool, and the Bennett lore in the last summer event, but the overall summer event didn't feel as awesome in terms of like foreshadowing the future plot for me. And that's what I look for in a summer event now that I know that that's what they do. I think that was for a good reason though. And I think that was because it was Nodcry next. And Nodcry was originally, when they were obviously making the game, as far as we know, Nodcry was kind of supposed to be like a part of Snezhnaya, I guess. It wasn't necessarily going to be its own standalone thing to wrap the story together. They said this, that we're like, we realized that we don't have time before Snezhnaya to wrap the story together, so we're doing this, which I think is a good thing, and they killed it. Nodcry was amazing. But it's really hard then to adjust other things to fit that narrative as well, right? I think this moon stuff that we are gonna inevitably learn in this quest is very, very much gonna be the summer event style of foreshadowing the future region. Also, you see this right here? If you'll zoom into that chat, that window, that's actually a teaser that Minsleaf's been trying to tell you guys. Dainsleaf in Smash Bros.